Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so today I want to have a real conversation with you, one that I think a lot of people need to hear before they write off train travel. People say things like, the trip takes forever, or why would you spend 2 days on a train when you could fly in 2 hours? And my answer is, you are completely missing the point. Today's video is all about why the long ride is not the problem. The long ride is the experience. And if you ask me, Amtrak might just be the best kept secret in American travel. Let me tell you why. Let's just address it head on. Yes, Amtrak is slow compared to flying. I am not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. A flight from Florida to California takes maybe about 5 hours. The train takes around 2.5 days. That is just the reality. But here's the thing I want you to think about. When you fly, you show up to the airport 2 hours early, you take your shoes off, you get scanned, you sit in a cramped middle seat, you eat a $5 bag of pretzels at 35,000 feet, you land, you wait for your bag, you get a ride share, and somewhere in all of that chaos, the country you just flew over completely disappeared. You missed it. You didn't see any of it. You were just transported from point A to point B like a package. The train is different. The train is the journey. And if you want speed, that is totally valid. Take the plane. But if you want to actually experience this country, to feel the size of it, to watch it change outside your window mile by mile, Amtrak wins. Every single time. One of my absolute favorite things about Amtrak, and honestly something I never expected, is the people you meet on the train. There is something about a long journey that just opens people up. Maybe it's because you're not rushing anywhere. Maybe it's because you're all in it together. But strangers on a train talk to each other in a way that just does not happen on a plane. In the observation car, in the dining car, at the little table seats, people share stories. They share where they're from, where they're headed, why they're going. I have seen Amish, retired veterans, college students, families, musicians, people just out to see the country. Every trip is just amazing. You just don't get that at 35,000 feet with your tray table down and your headphones in. The train has a social energy to it that is really special, and once you experience it, you kind of crave it. And then there's the scenery. Oh my goodness, the scenery. This country is breathtaking. I mean that sincerely. Traveling from Florida up through the southeast, across the plains, through the Rockies, into the desert southwest, and on to California, you see America in a way that no highway, no airport, and definitely no airplane window can give you. The observation car on Amtrak is basically a moving living room with floor to ceiling panoramic windows. And people gather in there. They look out, they point things out to each other. I have watched sunsets over the desert from that car that genuinely took my breath away. Mountains, rivers, little small towns that barely show up on a map. You roll right through the heart of all of it. There is something deeply satisfying about watching the landscape slowly change over the course of a day. The flat farmland gradually giving way to rolling hills, and then suddenly those hills become mountains. You feel the geography of this country in a way that is just impossible any other way. It is honestly one of the most beautiful travel experiences. Okay, I have to talk about the number one complaint it seems people talk about is, oh, the trains are always late. I hear this all the time. And look, I get it. That reputation exists for a reason, and there have been delays on certain routes over the years. I am not going to pretend Amtrak has a perfect record, but I want to share my personal experience because it does not match the horror stories at all. I think just about every single Amtrak trip I have taken has arrived on time. One trip, it was 3 hours late picking me up, but there was an engine problem. And hey, a lot better to have an engine problem on the ground than in the air, right? When the trains run late, many times it is out of their control because the freight trains get the rails first. And something a lot of people don't realize is that even when a train does fall behind schedule early in a journey, they actually make up time along the route. Now, yes, there are a lot of stops along the way, and that is just part of how train travel works. The train is serving multiple cities, multiple communities along the route. Those stops are not a flaw, they are the whole point. Each one is a little moment, a new platform, a new view out the window. I actually enjoy the stops. It breaks up the journey and gives you a chance to step off, stretch your legs, and breathe some fresh air before getting back on. There is also just something about train travel that feels timeless. I don't know how else to describe it other than nostalgia. Even if you've never ridden a train before in your life, there is something about it that feels familiar and warm. The sound of the wheels on the track, the gentle rocking motion, the conductor walking through the cars. It connects you to a whole era of American travel that feels important somehow. Like you are part of a long tradition of people who cross this country the same way, watching the same landscape roll by. I love Amtrak. I genuinely do. It is not just transportation to me, it is an experience. It is one of the best ways I know to slow down, disconnect from the noise, and actually be present in the journey rather than just trying to get to the destination as fast as possible. And I think in a world that is constantly telling us to go faster, do more, rush everywhere, there is something really valuable about choosing the slow road, or in this case, the slow track. So if you have been on the fence about trying Amtrak, I hope this nudged you a little closer to just going for it. Book the trip. Pack your snacks, bring your travel pillow, grab a seat in the observation car, and just let the country come to you. If you missed my other Amtrak videos, I did a full breakdown of the USA Rail Pass where I traveled coast to coast for $499, so I'll link that here on the screen. And I always want to hear from you. Have you ridden Amtrak? Do you love it like I do, or are you still on the fence? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Every comment gets read. As always, happy travels, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.